Hi everyone, my name is Nicole Travers and I am a Indigenous artist, lives on the west coast of Newfoundland in a little hamlet called Little Port, located in the town of Lark Harbour. I started beading about 5 years ago when my eldest daughter was just a few months old. I started off with loom work, and I continued on, and I started doing applique work as some of the years progressed. And then more recently, I was introduced to tanning leather skins, fish leather skins specifically. I had seen them years ago, never knew how they were done, thought it was so cool and so neat, didn't realize that fish leather could be used as a tangible item where you can make products out of, or items, craft items, artwork. The fish skin itself, when it's in its raw form before it's tanned, it seems like it's very, very delicate, but in actual fact it's pretty tough. So what I would like to do is show you how to take a fish skin in its raw form and turn it into a fish leather that you can use. So here I have 3 different examples. I've got a salmon skin, which was actually purchased for the meat, and I had eaten it myself, me and my family. I have codfish that was harvested off of Little Port Head last summer, so that would have in the Newfoundland food fishery. And then I have here eel skin, which was the raw skins were gifted to me by a gentleman out in Flat Bay, where they can still fish eel for food purposes. I bead, as I mentioned, and here are some examples of work that I have completed out of each of the skins. So here, this is salmon skin, and this is beadwork done on salmon skin, a pair of earrings. And then beadwork done on codfish skin, this one as well. And then lastly, this is eel skin on top, and it's, my opinion, a replication of kind of a nod to traditional Mi'kmaq quill work. I am myself, my history, my ancestry. I am an Ulnu woman, a Mi'kmaq woman. Grew up on the west coast, as I had mentioned, and just recently new to tanning fish skins. I learned the knowledge came to me from actually Instagram, the wonderful online opportunities that happen nowadays with social media. Her handle is Amber Sandy on Instagram, and she shared the knowledge on some tutorials on how to tan fish skin this way. And there are some absolutely amazing other teachers throughout the rest of the world. Radalam and Janie Chang out of North Vancouver. I look forward to learning more from Janie. Okay, excuse my board. I tanned an eel skin with red dye, so that's that. That's the mess from there. To start with tanning eel skins or tanning fish skins, most everybody have the utensils and ingredients that you would need at home to be able to do it. So you need a pot. My pot is a little bit stained up, and you can see that I'm already started to boil my water, because this is the same pot I use all the time for my tea solution, my tanning solution. So a pot with boiling water, hot water. So you need to make some tea. To start, you need 5 tea bags. And you also need some salt. Okay, so my pot is on the stove and it's getting hot. Excuse my nails. I'm constantly into different tans and stuff. We're going to throw a little bit of salt in there. Not a whole lot. And the water is pretty warm now. Steeping tea, you wouldn't throw your tea bags in and let them simmer a little bit because it just makes it bitter to the taste. But we are not going to be drinking this tea, so it's okay. We want as many tannins to come out of these tea bags as possible. We start with 5 tea bags because you don't want to shock the skins when you start tanning them. And shocking the skins would cause the skins to become crispy and hard. The tannins will be saturated in the outermost layer of the skin but wouldn't reach the inside, the middle of the skin, and it would stop and the skin would be ruined. So doing it slowly, introducing the tannins slowly allows the skin to absorb as many tannins and as deep as it possibly can to preserve it. So I'm just gonna let that boil for another 10 seconds. I'm going to turn it off and let it steep. And then you have to let your solution cool. The solution has to be room temperature or cold. If your solution is not room temperature, you'll cook your skins. So you don't want to do that because that'll ruin your tanning process. Okay, so to prepare the skins, you're going to want a spoon and a knife. And then you're going to want, I'm going to use salmon skin first. This is the salmon skin of one that I previously skinned, and you should see the video there for that. So I did put these in the freezer and I thawed them today. I'm just going to use a little bit of scrap paper to put the flesh and the scales that are going to come off this, just off to the side so I can collect it. When I can, I live near the ocean, so I always try to put it back when I can. If I can't, I'll put it out for the crows. And if not, well, it ends up, I guess, in my garbage on garbage day. Okay, so because this was purchased at a grocery store, sometimes the grocery stores actually scale the fish, meaning remove all the scales, so that it's, especially salmon. Salmon have very large and a lot of scales. So sometimes you may have that, and if you can skin it and scale it yourself, I see little damages here and here, so that'll affect the look of the skin when we're finished. But sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. And when salmon is sold in the grocery stores, it's always sold with the meat side up, so you don't know if the skin is going to be scale on or scale off. Anyway, so to start, as I said, salmon skins, or skins in general, the fish skins, are very tough. So we're going to use the spoon to scrape all this flesh off. And just starting and pulling it down. This is the stuff that would rot if you leave it, and is what causes the smell and the nasty stuff that a lot of people who didn't grow up around fish don't like, and even some of those who did grow up around the fishery don't like. As you can see, I'm really pulling the spoon down over, and you can see the liquid, the grease. It's mostly grease, the natural oils from the salmon coming off. And you can see that it's not putting a hole. Might stretch it a little bit, but that's okay. So anyway, I'll move it down. You can use rocks, you can use shells, clam shells, scallop shells, whatever is most comfortable for you. It's winter here now, or early spring. So for me to go out onto the beach and get a shell to do this is not exactly the easiest. There's a bit of snow around. So as you can see, there's some shiny stuff along here. And that's like the membrane and the inner skin. All that needs to come off. And the white. Ah, salmon skin is so forgiving. Sometimes, if the skins have been previously frozen, I find the flesh comes off them a little bit easier. And especially if these are completely thawed. If the skin, if I was doing this and there was a little bit of frost left in this, I know it definitely comes off a little bit easier. But as you can see, it's not that hard to scrape. It's a little bit messy, but so for the most part, everything is done here. So I'm going to flip it over, and I want to lay this flat, and now I'm just going to check and try to take out the scales without ruining the pockets where the scales fit into the little areas. Like here you can see, because they weren't taking the they weren't thinking about the preservation of the skin when these scales were removed on this one. But luckily I can. There might not be a lot here, as this looks like it was pretty well done. It's a few here. So the scales kind of act like an armor against the tannins, and the skin will still tan, it just might tan a little unevenly. I don't think there's much on this. If anything. No. Okay. I don't think there's much on this at all. All right. I'm just going to put this in the sink for now. We do have to wash the skins with cool water and a little bit of dish liquid to take the grease off. Just so that again, the tannins are not being impeded in order to go into the skin. I'll be right. So let's try. An eel skin. Eels are slimy. Let me rinse this. Okay. So eels are naturally slimy. The outside, it's like I guess a protectant on them. So these have been frozen. It's like trout. You know how trout has It's a little bit slimy and you got to cut it. I always use salt water or something. So once they have been frozen, the slime comes off, just rinses right off. So there's a little bit of flesh on this. So I'm going to do the same thing with this. So in Mi'kmaq culture and almost every indigenous culture that I've ever had any teachings from or learning about, you use everything that the animal gives to you, and the animal also gives you its flesh. So if you have the time, why not honor it and create something from it? Use it. If you don't, putting it back to its natural ecosystem where it can feed the other animals that are there is another way to honor it. There's not a lot of flesh on this. Now, eels have a fin on the top and the bottom of their body. It's hard to see here right now. Okay. So you see this fin here. This is not uncontrolled. So the fish actually can control the fin and can move it. And there are a fine bone system that runs up through. This might not come out here now. When it was skinned, sometimes they come right off. More often they don't. And there's a lot of oils up in here. You can pull, they're going to have to all be pulled out by hand either now or once the tanning process is done. It's when the skin is still wet before you stretch it and soften it. I'll probably just remove some now and remove some later. It doesn't make any difference whether these are in or out. Just hard to grab. If there's a little bit of flesh left over and you can scrape it off gently, a lot of times you can just pull the little bones, little cartilage. Yeah, you can see it there. So there's a little bit of tissue there, see? No, not going to get it. I'm going to leave that. That's okay. Because as it dries too, it kind of splits in two a little bit as well. So it's not like I'm going to probably use that part too much anyway in my art. And there's the other fin. So there's a fin on the bottom as well where the eel joins over. They're not very big animals. And they're not hunted or speared, fished like they were years ago. The American eel that we have here on the island is considered as, I believe it's a species at risk. And the numbers have reduced dramatically. That's why I didn't get them here, but I was gifted them from a gentleman in Flat Bay. They have licenses there for food harvesting. So these skins would have just ended up back in the ecosystem again. They had no, they used them for the food and went on. So you can see the beautiful fin. Eels sometimes have scales, sometimes they don't. This was the strangest thing I had seen when I started tanning eel skins. I never noticed it until I got 3 or 4 in, that some eels have scales and some don't. And I honestly, I don't know why. It was recommended, or it was mentioned to me that maybe it was because of the age of the fish, which very well could be. So I always give it a little scratch just in case. Their scales are super, super, super fine. And they're laid on the skin like a herringbone pattern. So you have 3 or 4 that run in this direction, and then 3 or 4 run in that direction, and then it's absolutely gorgeous. I don't think the camera would pick it up. Once it's tanned, it should. And in the softening process, sometimes if there are skins on it, they'll come out. So I want a nice, oh yeah. Okay. So this one is the good old codfish. And again, this is the same batch of codfish. I saved all the skins from the food fishery last summer. And when I went to freeze the meat, I filleted and then I skinned it. The cod skins are a little bit more delicate than salmon. They're not as thick, as well as a little more delicate than the eel. So I'm going to do the same thing here. There's not a lot of meat left on these because I had already started tanning the fish skins, and I prepped some of them by scraping off most of the meat before I froze them, just so that when I took them out to tan them, it was going to be a little bit easier on me. So that's why this one doesn't have a lot of meat on it. There are various methods to tanning skins. I've been playing around with some natural dyes, and honestly, I don't know enough about natural dyes to be able to successfully tan a fish skin without completely destroying the skin, because they're berry tanning is what I was doing, is tricky, and the acids from the berries just completely disintegrated the integrity of the skin within a matter of an hour in the solution. I tried raspberry and partridge berry. Oh, partridge berry would be so beautiful. So I've got a little bit more learning to do there. So I'm trying to take the scales out very, very gently so I don't tear the pockets where the scales are held, because that's the texture that you see when the skins are tanned. Fish skin tanning has been, is not solely one nation's art form or resource. Fish tanning is found worldwide, and clothing made from fish skins are found worldwide in all kinds of museums, Smithsonian Museum. It's usually fairly water repellent. Now, I'm not exactly, it could be because of the way that it's softened. When we go to soften these, or when I go to soften these, I'm going to use an oil. I have access to bear grease. Bear grease is a good medicine, and I really like using it. It's good on my hands for moisture purposes and a little bit of arthritis that I'm starting to get. But you can use any oil whatsoever. So canola oil, rapeseed oil, vegetable oil, coconut oil. And as you work it into the skin after it's been tanned, it helps preserve it and turn it into a waterproof textile or medium. Be prepared to have scales everywhere. All right. So I think that's going to be an okay. Okay. So you can see that the scales actually have a bit of color, and it does change the color of the codfish. I mean, everybody knows a codfish and the codfish skin, and it becomes a lot lighter once you take those scales off. Okay. Okay. So I'm back. I just cleaned up the little bit of mess that was here. So next thing we have to do, I'm going to rinse the fish skins. I have my water set to cold. I don't want to freeze my hands here. I'm going to fill up a little bowl full of water, cold water. It's fine, lukewarm. This is still like drinkable cold, so. Okay. Here's my water. I'm going to wash them. Just a little bit of liquid soap. I might have a half a teaspoon in there. Just enough to cut the grease. And I'm going to rinse my skins first, just to get any of the last little bit of flesh off. And then I'll just drop them in. That salmon skin is big. It's gorgeous. Okay. So you really want to give this a scrub. Maybe I should do that in the sink. I'm going to get floppy. And you can actually see the color of the water changes. So I'm just going to leave it in here now. My water is still cooling. If you're impatient for your tea solution to cool, because mine is still steaming there. If it's cold outside, pop it outside in the snow. You can also put some ice cubes in there to cool it down. And just so you can get it back to a temperature where it's not going to cook your skins. So I'm gonna cool my solution and then we'll add it. Okay, so the skins are washed. I soaked them a little while my tea solution was cooling down. I'm just gonna wring them out and I'm gonna rinse them in fresh water again, just to get the soap off. So that's it. My salmon, my eel, and my codfish. My tea is still warm, so I added a few ice cubes to my container that I'm going to have my skins in. So I'm going to pour my solution into here. And I'm going to give it a little stir. Make sure that it's cool. Yeah. Okay. So the whole process itself is going to take, just tanning them is going to take around a week, 5 days, 7 days. So each day we change out the solution with fresh solution. And for the first few days, we start off with 5 tea bags. The second day we go to 10. Third day we go to 15. So today's solution is the first one. So we only have 5 tea bags in here. Tomorrow, I am actually going to prep my solution for tomorrow. So I'll brew some more tea, and I'm going to do 10 tea bags for tomorrow's solution. And I can just let it cool overnight. I'll change it in the evening, because it's evening now. So I'm just going to drop my skins in here. Bring out the excess water, not a big deal. Now, when this is in here, especially the first day, stir it every time you walk by. Agitate it. I don't mean yell at it. But stir it so that the skin, see how they fold up there? So that they come apart and they get evenly covered. Now, tomorrow, so about once an hour, every time you pass by, I'm going to keep this in my kitchen, so I'll just give it a little stir. Tomorrow, we'll start to see a difference in the texture. Let's see how quick it starts picking stuff up. And I just put that in there. So there's my codfish skin. So the codfish skin, you'll really notice it. And it's probably because it's the thinnest of the 3. But it turns from like a fish skin, a slimy, thin thing to like a wet fabric. The fibers, you'll see the fibers just absorb it and they become thicker. And as the skin tans, you'll see all the fibers in the skins themselves individually. You'll just be able to see them. Ah, I love this. Look how quick. Okay, so use a spoon, use your hand. This container I bought from Dollarama, just a couple of bucks, and it's big enough to put my hand into if I need to, as well as it's enough so that the skins can move around freely, and they're not constricted and they're not going to lay on top of one another. Because a mistake that when you're doing this is not having enough space to have your skins open up and be able to move around. Because if they're folded in on one another, you're going to have areas where the tannins can't reach and it won't tan evenly. And if it doesn't tan evenly, your skin is not going to be cured properly. So it's very important that you do that way. So tomorrow, I'll note that the tea solution itself changes color as the skins pick up the tannins in the water. This becomes clear or clearer, and as you increase it and increase it and increase it, and the skins have more and more tannins, and as they become more saturated, it doesn't pick it up quite as much, and you'll see that the tea solution doesn't change color like it did at the beginning of the process. So yeah, check back. So day 2, again, if you want to prep your solution on the same day that you did for day 2, your tea solution for day 2, if you prep it on day 1, then it's nice and cool, it's ready to go. Remember to give it about your 24 hours. Look, I can feel it already. Wow. Give it about 24 hours to soak it up. So day 1, 5 tea bags, quarter teaspoon or half teaspoon of salt. Boil it, simmer it out so that you had to have a nice dark tea. Again, you can see a little bit of remnants here in the bottom. Day 2 is 10 tea bags. A little bit of salt, simmer it out, let it cool. And I'll see you back for day 2. Day 2, so our fish skins have been soaking in the tea solution now overnight. They have been stirred every once in a while, and not sure if you can see the color. It's a little bit of daylight coming through my window, so hopefully that helps some. The color is definitely lightened up. I've got my day 2's tanning solution ready, and I just want to bring to your attention the skin. This one's the salmon skin. You can start to really see the color is being picked up, and underneath you should, on day 2, you can see that it should have been stirred a little bit more. That's okay, it'll pick up. The texture is also changing. So that's my eel skin and my partridge berry, my codfish skin. So all we do now, so just to recap, day 2 was day 2's tanning solution is 10 tea bags. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to squeeze the extra little bit of this out. It's been cooling overnight, and then I'm going to dump my remaining solution, my old solution, out. And then I'm going to add a couple of ice cubes to this because it was on our stove, and it must have took up some of the residual heat from when we cooked supper. All right, so I've added some ice to that one just because the tea is a little bit warm, but it shouldn't do anything, so it'll cool it down that much. All right. So looks like iced tea. And that is it. So now we leave it again. And I mean, if you want to walk by and give your skins a little swish in your solution, that's fine. My kids are in the background. I'm sure you'll be able to hear them. And leave it another, leave it another. So day 3 solution is going to be 15 tea bags. So I'll get that ready again now. Again, a little bit of salt water, or sorry, a little bit of salt, 15 tea bags, and simmer it out into your solution again. And then you can see it's getting pretty dark, but tomorrow you'll notice again that this solution, the skins have absorbed most of the tannins, and the water will be lighter in color. All right. Oh, as well, it's too early to check yet, but in a couple of days, when we get to that point, when the skins are getting nice and dark, we'll test to see if the tannins go all the way through. Yeah. So again, just to touch base, day 3 is 15 tea bags, half a teaspoon, quarter teaspoon, a little bit of salt in your water when you're boiling your water. Let it cool, and we'll meet you again tomorrow. Hi everyone, and welcome back. This is day 3. So our fish skins have been soaking in the day 2 solution, that's 10 tea bags, for approximately 24 hours now. And as you may be able to see there, if I can get the reflection of the light gone, you can see that the color is quite transparent in compared to what we put in there There we go. Blocked a little bit of light that's there. Quite transparent compared to last night when we changed out the tea solution. So I'm actually going to do a little bit of checking today. I know that they have to tan a little bit longer. So you can see, do you see that nice brown color that we're getting? This is the salmon skin. And there you can start to see it really comes out the pockets of where the scales were. And you can see right here and here that I guess it was put through an automatic scaler or some kind of machine where they're not careful about removing the scales from this particular skin, because I bought it from the grocery store. But you can see down here, there was no damage done to those pockets, and it's so pretty. The white obviously is not as dark as the black, and that'll kind of stick through. And as well on the underside of the skin, there's still quite a bit that it needs to soak up. You can start to see the fibers. And I'm sure you can see that there. There. You can see the fibers starting to really become distinctive on the back of the skin. So still a little bit. And just, I'm going to start doing this just so you can see it. I don't usually do it until we get like day 4 done, day 5, but how to check to see if the tannins are completely soaked through. I'm doing it early so that you can see the difference when they're not completely soaked through and when they are completely soaked through. So you just take a pair of scissors and you snip off the edge. Now, can you see how the right here, it's still white? It's not quite white, but it's much lighter in color compared to the outside. That tells me that it still needs to soak up quite a bit more of the tannin or the tea solution in order to be completely saturated in the tannins. So let's take a look. That was the salmon skin. This one is the codfish skin. I'm just wringing it out so I don't make a mess. So you can see, I know that it still has to go through because that was only the solution for 2 days. But do you remember, you might want to go back to a previous video and take a look at the difference already that has occurred with this process. And the back of the codfish skin, you do see these little areas where it doesn't take up the tannins as well, but that's typical. And you can still see that line that runs through that's distinctive of the Atlantic cod. My father used to tell a story. And it had to do with the devil. The devil grabbed the codfish and said, I've got you now. And he grabbed him just behind the gills. And the codfish said, no, you don't. And started swimming and wiggling and wiggling. And as the codfish started to slip out of the grip of the devil, it made 2 marks down the side of the codfish. So that's the folklore that I was told about these lines on the codfish. It's nice to see that sometimes they go away in tanning, but I think this one is going to keep it. Maybe it'll lessen in the softening process, but we'll see. Yeah, this one is our eel. Now this eel was actually fairly light in color, so yeah, that looks good too. It's coming along really nicely. All these little pieces are going to have to be removed during the softening process. And let's just give it a little snip. And again, this one is not as thick as the salmon skin, but I can see here, you may not be able to pick it out on the camera. I'm going to come up a little bit closer. Yeah, there you go. You can still see that it's fairly light inside. The outside of the skin has produced the tannins. So And then again, you can see the color. Yeah, there you go. You can see the color that the tea has gone from. So this is our tea, and it has 20 tea bags, 15 tea bags. What day are we on? This is day 4. So this one has 20 tea bags. This one had 15 tea bags. So you can see the difference in the two colors there, so that the skins are definitely picking it up. So I'll dump this. That one's of no use to me anymore. I'm going to put that in there. Save my tea bags for the compost. And this was the tea that I brewed last night, so it is cooled off. There we go. I'll clean up my mess. Make sure that my skins, because I did wring them out and just plop them in the bottom, but make sure that they're not compacted in the solution. And that's it. That's it for this one. So tonight's solution for tomorrow is 20 tea bags, and here on in it is going to continue on for 20 tea bags. So the first day is 5 tea bags, the second day is 10 tea bags, the third day is 15, and then after that it's 20 every evening. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll check the progress of the skins and see how they're doing. Again, just take note of how dark this is. I'll block my light off. How dark that is, and we'll see for tomorrow. I'll make my solution tonight and check back in later. Thank you. Hi everybody. Welcome back. Day 4 tonight. So we've had our skins tanning for 3 full days, and always take a look. You can see the color difference in the skins. Just pull them out quickly. I don't think I'm going to check them today because I definitely know that they need a minimum of 4 to 5 days. This is only the beginning of day 4. Ooh, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Hey? It's coming along just nicely. This is the salmon skin. The underside of it, where we fleshed it, it is beautiful. I might check this actually, just a second. Have my scissors. Let's give it a little snip. Oh, I snipped that side yesterday, so let's try the other side. Oh yeah, it's beautiful. So you can see tonight, I actually don't think you're going to be able to pick up the... It is still a little bit white. Let me try it in here. There we go. So this side is a little bit thicker, and you can still see that it's white right in there. So that line of white means that there's still some tanning left that needs to occur, and that's fine. We're only on day 4. It's still very early. Here's our eel skin. And this is looking gorgeous as well. Let me give that a little snip. Oop. Same thing. Still early. Here's the codfish. The codfish usually doesn't take as long, so I would expect... I'll leave it in there anyway. But, because it just stops soaking up the tannins. Yeah. Oh, these are turning out gorgeous. So it's just a drastic difference from just yesterday to today. You stop seeing there's like a gold tint where the white was turning, and now it's really picking up those the darker browns and stuff. Okay, so we dump this. That's our old tea solution. I made mine last night. In here, there are 20 tea bags. So I'm going to wring it out. Oops, I broke a bag. It's okay, not a big deal. I saved those for the compost. And in goes my solution. I'm not going to put all of it in until I get my skins in. So 1, 2, 3. You know what? I still give it a little stir every once in a while just to make sure. Yeah, that's good. So tonight I'm going to make my tanning solution again. So from here, from day 4 on to the rest of the days that you finish tanning, it's always going to be 20 tea bags. I buy the no-name brand from Dominion or Superstore, Atlantic Superstore, and they're like $2 for 100 tea bags. Fortunately, the tea is not, or the skins are not specific if it's red rose or Tetley or no name, so they're not exactly drinking it. So anyway, yeah, so here we go. Day 4 done. Tan my solution again, 20 tea bags, a little bit of salt, some water, let it cool, and I'll see you back for tomorrow, day 5. Hi everybody, and welcome back. Today is day 5, so our solution is in day 4 solution. So pretty much this is going to be fairly quick. We're just checking to see what this condition of our skins, how they're doing. And I can see that the salmon skin is at the top here. And you can probably start to see how it's folding. It actually looks like a wet, I'm going to compare it to a dishcloth because it is, let me bring that in a little bit. It's very much like a fabric now, like a wet canvas or something. You can tell that it's getting thick and heavy. It's getting close to being done. I myself would definitely leave this salmon skin in for a good 6 days. This is day 4. We're going into day 5. As you can see, still has some tannins to pick up. And that's okay. Not a big deal. Smells like tea. Yeah. Some skins, the thinner skins, may be completed at the end of day 4. At the end of day 5, you know, they're starting to pick everything up. Sorry, that noise is my dehumidifier. I forgot to turn it off. So this is the cod skin, the codfish skin. It's really getting that beautiful color. Nice, rich, dark brown. And how it was darker on top. Yeah. You see this one doesn't have, it's not light here. That's just a bit of extra fuzz on the back there. It's all the way through. Let's check the other end. Yeah. 4 days for this. That's a little bit thicker. Let me. So that little bit of a thick piece here is light. I am going to leave this in an extra day or 2 just because the other ones are can take it. The skin just stops soaking up the tannins, so that's fine. This is the eel skin. Yeah. That is nice. That is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I did a little snip on that side already once. I'll just go back a little bit more. You know what? I think the eel skin is just about done too. Oops. Yeah, another day. Another day for the eel skin. You can see it a little bit light through there. Just even compare one side to the other. It's the difference of the thickness. And you can see that our tannins, I have overhead lights here, so you're getting that reflection. So the tannins sure soaked up a lot out of the tea from yesterday. So we start our batch of fresh skin. So yesterday I soaked my tea. So like I said, after we reach day 4, we're on to 20 tea bags. So every day after this is 20 tea bags. I'll just top that up. And like to keep costs down, I use no-name tea bags. It's a couple of bucks, $2 or $3 for 100. And for that price, you get some beautiful, beautiful leather when you're finished. So, all depends on the size of the skins that you're tanning, how many you would do per batch. I'd probably only do 2, maybe 3 halves of a salmon. I'd do 4 or 5 eel skins, no problem. And that's like the codfish. I'd do 4 or 5, maybe even 6. They're thinner, they're smaller. So I just put it in, leave it for the 24 hours. Prepare my tea solution for tomorrow. 20 tea bags as it's day 5. And yeah, 20 tea bags from here on in. We'll see you back tomorrow. Bye. Hi everyone. Welcome. This is day 5 of tanning fish skins. So let's have a look. As you can see, the skins are much, I mean, the solution is much clearer, and you can really see that skin taking on those tannins. Honestly, I know that the eel is done. I haven't snipped it. I can tell by feeling it. I'll just snip it to show you. Yeah, so as you can see there, it's pretty much all the same color the whole way through. It does look a little bit lighter, but it's really not. If you could see it in person, you'd see it. Put that one aside. Now this is the salmon skin. Oh my gosh. Let me wring this out so I don't make a mess everywhere. And there we go. And again, as I mentioned yesterday in the last video, it's like a fabric now, and you can see that it's like a fabric. And I mean, take into consideration the size that this salmon skin was before, and then the size that it is now, that the tannins have penetrated the fibers of the skin itself. I do have the tanning solution ready for one more bath, or one more session, one more soak. So I will use this instead of throwing it out, because maybe the salmon can go a little bit. No, salmon is done too. Okay, maybe the salmon can go a little bit more. Now that is probably the thickest part of the salmon that I'm cutting into, and it is white there. But I did snip it here. It's completely, let me just make sure I did do that. Yeah. So I did snip it here. It's completely tanned all the way through. And the thickness of the skin here is pretty much the same. The rest of the, in the rest of the skin. So, well, it'll give the opportunity. This new bath will give it the opportunity. So and then lastly, this is the codfish. And look at that. And that black line that I mentioned is actually lighter than the rest of the skin now. But you know what? You have no idea how that black line is going to turn out, or this line, this distinctive line on the codfish is going to look like once it dries. So I'm going to soak all of these one more time in one more day. And I guess tomorrow it's start stretching day. Drying and stretching. So I'll dump this. I'm just going to give it a little rinse because there's a little bit of stuff that's stuck to the bottom there. Like the perfect pour. Pop it in. This is the last of it. So tomorrow, when we start to dry and stretch these, you're only going to do one at a time. We'll talk about that. You're going to need an oil. You can use coconut oil, canola or rapeseed oil, olive oil if you want. I have access to bear grease, and I've used bear grease this whole time. So I'm going to continue to use bear grease, but the grease that you use, it doesn't matter. So anyway, one last time. If for these skins, it's going to be this is going to be the last soak. If your skins are not ready, then continue on for another day 6 or day 7. 20 tea bags, continuing on with the 20 tea bags, half teaspoon, quarter teaspoon, just give a little shake of salt in there. Make your solution, strain it, etc., etc. Same as what we've been doing all along. And then when your skins are tanned, then you just skip ahead to the finishing, the stretching, and the drying of the skins. Until next time, until tomorrow, Namultus. Hi everybody, and welcome back. This is the last day now. So my skins are ready to dry and soften. I've already dumped out my solution. So now here we go. Here's the codfish. Here is the salmon. My window is open, so we've got a little bit of natural light. The underside, you can see where the meat was. And then lastly, the eel. So this eel is going to be pretty. It's got quite the nice lighter color to it. So the next step now is to rinse it and wash it in a little bit of soapy water. So I'm just going to do that. Just put them back in here. Make sure your water is not too warm. So just a room temperature or lukewarm water is fine. And just a touch of dish soap. Just for a minute, and you can see the extra tannins. The water has already changed color there. And it just kind of cleans them up a little bit, and you can scrub it if you want a little bit. Pretty much just all you're doing is washing out the excess tannins that are probably just going to come off on your hands anyway at the drying process. So, and then I'm just going to rinse my skins. Rinse them well. I mean, you can rinse them until the water runs clear, barely clear. And that's it. So now it's the drying and the stretching time. So I'm not going to be stretching the codfish and the eel right now. So I'm just going to put that in a little Ziploc bag. And fold it up, fold it, ball it, however you want to do that, and put it in the fridge just so it is wet. It hasn't been dried yet, so just so it doesn't go sour or anything. I mean, you could freeze it if you wanted to, but I think the fridge is fine. The reason is that it takes a couple of hours to do each skin, and I'm going to do the salmon skin, I guess, tonight. That one is probably going to take the longest because it is the thickest skin and it is very, very large, or it's much larger than the other two. So to start that process,
you're going to get plucked.
Just, no, okay, baby. So to start that process, are you putting it in my pocket? Oh.
Gonna get flat.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I have an old towel. I just reuse the same ones. My mother doesn't know that I borrowed this from her. So I'm just trying to get out as much of the liquid as I can. This is my process of doing it. You can do it however you want. I always find towels the best. This is going to take a few hours. Oh, this is gorgeous. So you can see where the white was, and then here's the intermediate area, and then this was the black. The scales do have a bit of damage, but you know what? Make the best of it. And you can see how this has become kind of spongy. So for the next little while, I'm just going to stretch it, stretch it, stretch it as it dries. I may even put it down and just let it dry a little bit more. So you're going to want to put an oil on it to ensure that it stays nice and soft. It helps with that process while you're trying to get the air and the fibers of the skin to break apart. You can use, like I mentioned before, you can use almost any oil that's in your house. So this is canola oil or rapeseed oil. You can use olive oil as well. Also, you can use coconut oil. Myself, I have access to bear fat, bear grease. So this is what I've been using in more recent times. It's come across it ethically and harvest here on the West Coast by my brother-in-law. So when I'm ready, it's not ready yet because it's still a little bit too wet. It's going to be great for your skin because you're just going to be constantly using the oil. Then you're going to work the oil into the skin and just keep stretching and stretching and stretching. Yeah, this one, it sure ripped up. When you scale it yourself and it's not done by a machine, because like I said, this piece of salmon came from the grocery store. It does, you take care not to tear up the pockets here of the fish, of the skin, so that you're left with this beautiful, you see these pockets where the scales were, and you're left with that instead of this. I'll still use it no matter what. I mean, I can use it for a knife sheath or something. It just doesn't make it look as pretty, but it's still usable. I mean, I can always use the other side of it if I want. So you're just going to work it and work it and work it. And as it dries, it's going to get hard. So take your time, work those areas. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm not going to stay on the video to do that. I'll come back and show you as it comes along. You can already hear that it's tough, but it's still very wet. It feels like a wet face cloth that's been super wrung out. Yeah, so that's it for now. We just work it and work it and work it. Remember the pieces that you're not going to tan at this time. So with that tanning solution, that was 3 pieces. That was a very large piece of salmon skin. You could easily do 5 pieces. So you could do 2 large salmon skins and a couple of other smaller pieces. No problem whatsoever. You may have to tan it for a little bit longer. But as you do the process more and more, you'll realize that you have that ability to kind of play around with it. And you know, if you don't need it for a week, sometimes you might have to tan it for a week. Sometimes you might only tan it for like 4 days, depending on the thickness of the skin and how fast the tannins take in. All right, so I'll check back with you when this breaks a little bit more and dries up. So I've had a little bit of oil here. I covered my hands in oil, and I went across the front, and then I added a little bit more, and then I went across the back, and then you'll feel your hands are super slippery, and you just work it and work it and just stretch it in all the directions. And if you have something that you can pull it down over, a piece of wood, I wouldn't suggest using chairs, like the back of a chair, because the tannins do still come out of this. You'll notice it on your skin. Your hands will turn a little bit yellow, brown, or tea color. I mean, it's up to you. If you don't mind having a little bit of tannin penetrate the wood on the back of your chair, which I did. Or you can just use a piece of raw wood, or if you have a longer or something and it's junked off, kind of like a pyramid style, so that it's got a kind of a sharp edge, and you can work it down over, and you're just working it back and forth. It's going to rough up the back, but that's fine, because the back right now is not rough, but it will get rough as it dries, just as it aerates. It's super wet yet. Oh, look, still some more scales coming off, and they'll work out if you didn't get them all. For the most part, most of them will work out. You might notice when the scales come off, they're going to be a little bit lighter underneath, because it acts like a little shield sometimes. But I let this soak. It had lots of opportunity to go right through. Yes, I'm a little disappointed with that, but you know what? It's unique. Makes it a little different. I usually just sit down in front of the TV, or if your skin has a few scales that weren't removed, if it's a nice day, sit outside. Be warned that if you're sitting outside, a little breeze will dry it faster, which honestly right now that would be okay for mine, because it is fairly wet. It's still fairly wet. And I'll just leave it and let it dry for a little bit, and then I'll come back and work it some more. But there will come a point when you start noticing that it gets a little harder. That's those areas you really need to work, and work it, like, to me, like you're washing a pair of socks, just like this. You won't have a nice flat skin, but it will be, Mommy? It will be kind of ruffled on the edges. As you can see here, it's kind of ruffled here, but the edges will ruffle as well. Oh, so.
Mommy, can I make more juice for Daddy?
No, not right now.
No, Casey needs a drink.
Hi everybody, and welcome back. I want to thank everybody for either watching the videos that I've created about fish tanning, or even participating along. I just want to show you the last 3 skins, or the 3 skins that we tanned. So this was the eel skin. I've already gone ahead and softened it. The eel skin myself, I usually did this with it, let it dry a bit. If I wanted to add more oil to it, you can, just to work it after it's been dried. Soften it up a little bit more. As you can see, when you add oil, this is one that I've done before, it'll make the skin slightly darker than the one that might want a little bit more oil. So you can see it here more so. But anyway, they turned out absolutely gorgeous. This skin had a few little scars or marks on it, and they showed up very, very beautifully. Here is the salmon skin that I was showing how to soften in the last video. So because I purchased my salmon and the skin from a grocery store, and this sometimes you just don't know, the salmon meat is sold on a tray, and the skin is scale side down on the tray. So when I took it off, I noticed that they had used a machine to scale it. So the top portion of the skin, the scales are kind of rough, but the bottom portion is still gorgeous. And again, like as the skin dries out, add oil. The skin soaks it all up. Salmon skin is a little bit harder, tougher, so you will have that waxed duck material sound to it. And then lastly was this is the codfish. And you can see how this is darker, so that means there's more oil here. But if I work it and get the fibers to separate and get air down there, it lightens up a little bit. This one's a little more wrinkly because with salmon skin, I tend to actually twist it just like this. And then I'll let it go. That's how I like to soften the codfish skins. If you've got a 2x4, you can also take it, I'll just use the my tea container. If you got a 2x4 or a tree, you can also take your skin, either, I've done it with all of them, and soften it against something like this. And the edges, I find the edges of the 2x4 work really well because it's not sharp like a knife, but it's got that 90-degree angle. So it helps break the skin and soften it. So there's the eel, the salmon, and the codfish. Then here's some just other examples that I've tanned in the past. This is a different process. There's another, that one's nice. I think my codfish skin needs to be worked a little bit more because this is one that I did last summer. Some salmon skin, and this is actually a mackerel skin. Mackerel skins are actually very, very, very delicate and very thin. This one was tricky to soften, but I did it mostly by crunching it up and straightening it out. That nice shine that the mackerel has, it all went away when I cleaned it, and I was quite surprised that the skin was actually translucent when it was done. Some more salmon skin, little remnants of my jewelry making. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me through gallery@easternedge.ca, and I'll be happy to try to help you along in your journey. And again, thank you all, and thank you to Eastern Edge, and thank you to everybody that inspires me when I'm doing my craft. And it's been quite a journey, and I thoroughly enjoy it.